Hi, I'm Deborah Ragas, and this is my professional development book presentation. I chose as my book Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking by Susan Cain. I chose this book because I am an introvert, and I thought it would be very, very relevant to me. In fact, I had it on my Kindle when we had the book assignments, and I just hadn't ever gotten around to reading it yet. So that gave me the impetus I needed to actually open the book and start reading it. And I did enjoy it. I thought it was a very enjoyable book. It's not dry. There are a lot of stories in it. There are a lot of anecdotes. There's some science. And there are some pointers for introverts coping in a really extrovert-oriented world. So, yes, I recommend the book. So, in the book, Susan Cain doesn't really give us a concise definition of what it means to be an introvert. She gives us a lot of bullet points about what introverts and extroverts are like. And some of them I've listed here. Introverts enjoy alone time. They tend to work slowly and deliberately. They have a lot of focus when they get onto a task. They really zone in on it. Introverts prefer less stimulating environments, meaning fewer crowds. They work better one-on-one or with a small group of people that they know well. Introverts are highly sensitive, a lot of us. And by that doesn't mean that we cry more at movies or we get all mushy over a lot of different things. It means that one of the studies she quoted started with babies, and they tested the babies to see how reactive they are to things like noises and colorful spinning things in their environment. Some of the babies were pretty chill, and some of the babies were waving their little arms around and crying and getting all upset whenever anything disturbed them. And what they seem to think they have shown is that those babies that are more reactive tend to grow up to be a little bit more introverted than their less reactive fellow babies. So that kind of leads into, it seems like a pretty good, whether that turns out to be true or not, it seems like a pretty good assumption, because if little things annoy you more, you're going to try to isolate yourself from that extra aggravation all the time. I don't know. Could be true. So let's debunk some myths. Here are some things you may have heard about introverts. Introverts make up a small portion of the population. Not so many. Introverts aren't as successful as extroverts. Introverts aren't as valuable to businesses because they're not team players. Extroverts are better at multitasking, which is very important to companies. And introverts are aliens. Here's some truth. 1/3 to 1/2 of Americans are introverts. So of every 3 people you know, probably one of them at least is an introvert. That seems to tell me that a lot of people are pretending to be more extroverted than they really are. Here are some famous introverts. I could use up some time and read these names, but if you want to, if you don't recognize their faces, you want to stop the presentation and see who they are. A lot of them are just instantly recognizable. So yes, you can be an introvert and be wildly successful and popular and rich, just super rich. Introverts in the workplace. Well, I think that one of the things that is a little bit scary for introverts is that we all know how important the job interview is. If you're not presenting yourself as an outgoing, cheerful, rah-rah person, you're less likely to get the job. And that does put a lot of pressure on people who are naturally more reserved. I think it's important for hiring personnel to keep in mind that you're not interviewing your best friend. You're interviewing somebody who's going to add value to your business. And it's been shown that introverts are very important to businesses. One of the reasons is because we don't take as many risks. We tend to be more reserved. We tend to be more cautious. We tend to like to think things through before we make a major decision. And in many cases, you get sort of an emotional business decision because everybody's excited about something. The introverts could be the ones on the sideline saying, hey, wait, hold up, guys. There's something we didn't think about. Maybe we should pause a moment here and really think about this before we do it. That could save your business a lot of money. Oh, and on the bottom here, I've got no one's really good at multitasking. That's true. Science has shown that we really only focus on one thing at the time. Multitaskers are just jumping from thing to thing really quickly, and they tend to make mistakes going back and forth, so that's not really a thing. Teamwork makes the dream work. Collaboration, yay. So because I think businesses have the impression that there are way more extroverts in their business than there actually are, they seem to be making decisions based on what they think extroverts will like. And that leads to things like open plan offices where everybody can hear everything that you're saying, brainstorming sessions, and a lot of rah-rah team building activities. And introverts are less comfortable with those things. And now that we know that we're about a third to half of the population, it only really makes sense to build quiet spaces too, so that people who need more quiet time can have some place to retreat from the noise and the interruptions. Interruptions, noises, they're disruptive to productivity even for extroverts. And yes, even extroverts need to be alone to focus and concentrate sometimes. So it really makes more sense to provide those quiet areas in the office. Fun fact. According to Quiet, Susan Cain says that the biggest fear in the United States is the fear of public speaking, even scarier for people than death. That kind of depends on which studies or surveys you look at. Whether or not it is the number one, I think that it just shows that it is a very, very big fear. So should introverts try to be more extroverted? Yes, I think that we should, and here's why. We now know that a big chunk of people are afraid of public speaking. And that means there are a lot of extroverts who don't like it any more than we do, but yet they have to overcome that natural shyness or being averse to having the spotlight on them, and they have to just get in there and do it, and so do we. And the important thing to remember is that this is a life tip that's in the book, is when we feel passionate about something, when we're really invested, we will step up and we will speak up. And the example given in the book, one of the examples is Rosa Parks. She was a very shy introvert, but when she needed to make a stand, she did. So, as you're going through life, I know we can't always pick the ideal job, especially right out of school, but as you're making your decisions in your career, try to keep in mind, steer towards the things that you feel more attuned with. Things that you believe in, things that get you excited, that you're invested in, things you feel good about, because that's going to help you put yourself out there and be more successful in your career. So the final analysis. I did have to think of a couple of cons to this book. So yeah, one is that it wasn't free. And the other one was that I think that she could have gone and stuck with one idea. For my taste, she could have stuck with one idea. She jumped around a lot in the book and came back to things later. And I kind of wish she would have gone dun-da-dun-da-da on one thing after the other. But that's just a personal preference. Overall, I enjoyed the book. I think it would be very useful for anybody, whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, especially if you're an introvert, because it'll help you understand why you relate the way you do with things. And it just shows that it's just a different approach. It's not a disability or something we have to feel bad about. Another thing is, if you're an extrovert, don't be afraid that you're going to read this book and you're going to be made out to be the bad guy, the loud, brash, outgoing extrovert. It's not like that at all. She shows both sides to both personality types, and I think she's pretty even-handed. There are no good guys, there are no bad guys, there's no better than. We all just have different pluses and minuses, and when you put them all together, we work better together. Extroverts help push introverts, and introverts help hold extroverts back a little when it needs to be done. So don't be afraid that you're going to get bashed. You probably have introverts in your life, or you will have introverts in your life. One of the chapters is about extroverted parents who get super worried when their child is not getting out there and making a lot of friends, and they think that something might be wrong and that they have to push them to be more outgoing. Not so much. It's probably just that they're more introverted, so don't worry about it. So I think the book is a good read for anybody, and I do recommend it. That's the end. There are the curtains, and thank you for watching my presentation.